right, sick. Welcome to the podcast again. How's
Thanks,
things?
man. Pretty good. Yeah. I'm I think I've successfully mastered a jet lag recovery, which is good.
Mm.
I've just
Where'd
gotten
you
back
go?
from I went over to I was in London, Berlin and uh a small town north of Barcelona for a colleague's birthday for
Mm.
kind of 2.5 weeks. So yeah, just sort of got back a couple of days ago, and you know how you can kind of do it right. I never know what the right way is, but like sometimes you can do it right and then you're just like back in the zone. And I think
Mm.
just getting up every morning at sort of 7 or 8 o'clock, regardless of how I'm feeling, has bounced me back into feeling good. So I'm feeling good for 10 o'clock in the morning on this Saturday. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I always find when I travel, like even if it's just domestically or if it's across the country or whatever, I always find there's one day after I've traveled where I feel like I'm very productive in terms of just doing shit like my laundry and like, cleaning my kitchen, like all that kind of shit. For some reason, like having traveled, like the day after I've traveled, even if it's like a 2 hour flight from like, I just went to Minneapolis, for example.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the day I get back, I'm always super productive. And then it's like the few days after that that I feel kind of trash.
I'm exactly the same, man. And it's like, it's something that I've had to sort of watch and reel in almost. I call it my bounce, like I'll get back and I'm like, right, who wants to hang out? Like who wants to do stuff, or, I want to do all these things, and I don't give
Mm.
myself time to feel like grounded. It's like when I travel, I feel very untethered sometimes. Like I don't
Mm.
really know, especially this time because I've just moved into a new sort of house and I haven't really unpacked or anything yet. And yeah, if as soon as I land, I've in the past I've just gone off and done stuff like hung out with people or just like done all these chores and stuff, and then I crash so hard. So I've sort of had to force myself to like come home and be like, nah, I'm just gonna sit on the couch, like eat some regular food, do all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm
Mm.
still learning. I'm like 42 now. I'm still learning how to travel successfully. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Traveling is always tricky. Yeah, I feel like it's just what's that? Is like the law of Brownian motion or whatever. Like the thing, like if it's in motion, it stays in motion, and if it's like stagnant, it like kind of stays stagnant. I feel like that's kind of what it is. It's like if you're in motion and you're like traveling around a bunch, it's like you get home and you're still kind of in motion. Versus like if
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
just chilling at home all the time, just sitting in the studio and like watching YouTube videos and that kind of thing, it's like you kind of stagnate a little bit. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much what it is.
And then when you do like go traveling, you're like, oh fuck, I really don't want to do this. And I don't know, sometimes when again, like it could just be domestically or whatever, but I can turn up at an airport and I can be like, yeah, like every day is a new day. Where is the world going to take me? And like sometimes I just turn up and just be like, I just want to go home. What am I doing? Doesn't really matter why I'm traveling. Do you
Mm.
get like a really sore stomach when you fly in a plane? Like bloated
Mm.
or gurgly?
No,
Something
I
I'm
don't think so.
noticing.
You think it's got to do with the altitude or something?
Could be that, or I was just thinking it could be how they sort of force feed you. Well, they don't force feed you, but they certainly like to feed you a lot. I think just to like pass the time and make you feel nice. And I
Mm.
just tend to eat quite a lot of like shit, but it's probably a combination of everything. But yeah, I'm always finding I like I don't feel sick. I just feel really real bloated.
Yeah, I
Anyway.
definitely get bloated when I travel just from eating a bunch of bullshit for sure, like eating
Mm,
Taco Bell and like random plain shit. And yeah, that's definitely a
mm.
thing. But I wouldn't say I get like gurgly or anything from the flight per se. But in general, I do get bloated when I travel because I just eat a bunch of bullshit for sure.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. Actually, is this that when you're going, especially when you're playing shows and you're going from like event to event to event to event, and for those individual people, it's like they've been working on this for months and they're all leading up to it, and it's like it's the big night, or it's the night before the big night. So everyone's just like, fucking pizza or whatever, So it's kind of like this series of kind of like fast food things just keep happening and happening, and don't really eat like home cooked meals or just like anything that isn't fast food, like for you, you're just constantly eating shit, but for them, it's sort of just like this,
It's like
that
a
last
special
minute.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah, we're too busy to like eat healthy. So, and I reckon that's the reason I definitely put on weight when I, especially when I was traveling a lot and playing music a lot. It's like I'd come back like with the kilograms stacked on just because I reckon that. I mean, there's self-control there as well. I'm not blaming like them. I'm blaming myself for sure. But it's just like I'm a sucker for when someone's just like, we're just going to get pizza or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's hard to turn down pizza.
It's hard to turn down pizza.
It is hard to turn down pizza. What else have you been like? What were you traveling for? You said it was someone's birthday, or was it like, were you in Berlin for Superbooth or something like this?
Correct. Yeah. So I think the main reason we travelled was me and the other co-founders of Telepathic. We're all over the globe, some of us in Australia, some of us in Europe, and we don't really meet up in person. We try to do it once a year. So this was sort of, I would say, a yearly meetup, and that sort of coincided with, we did like a little pop-up store in London. Well, not little, it was like we did these little pop-up shops where we let people come and play on a device, and then I went to Berlin for Superbooth, which was really intense. I was supposed to go there for 3 days and ended up only going for 1 day because I needed to stay in London for a couple of other days. And I was pretty much just, I regret it slightly, but I was pretty much in incognito mode. Like I was looking at like so many fucking new things, and just looking at what might be relevant to my current interests, as far as, like making friends or finding suppliers and all this kind of stuff. So I was sort of kind of like in my hoodie, just like running around booths, just like looking at things. And I spent like 4 hours just doing that, and then another 4 hours doing that again to see the things that I'd missed. And then I had about 2 hours of just kind of walking around, having a good time and checking stuff out. That place is madness. Have you been to one of those?
I've not been to Superbooth, but I've been to NAMM in LA, and
Right.
I imagine it's kind of the same thing. It's basically like you're drinking through a fire hose. It's like a Guitar Center on crack. It's like you go there and it's just like, it's a massive pissing contest between all of the big tech companies. It's like you've got, Function One showing off there, and you're seeing Dyne Audio showing off there, and you're seeing, and like people are building like fucking whole ass things out of like shipping containers, so you can go into like these little anechoic booths that they've created to hear their thing. And yeah, it's wild. I imagine Superbooth's basically the same thing, right? Like a big ass convention for gear nerds.
It is, but it's really. I don't really mean to say this in a negative way. I don't really know how else to describe it though. But it feels like a Vegas casino lobby with all, just like, especially the modular rooms. It's just just like,
I mean, for people like us, for sure.
Yeah, you just got all these people just like queuing up and then just like touching things, and it's just absolute chaos and noisy. And I mean that's it's a dreamland if you're a modular person. Like we were, it's so huge. Like the main building was, all of the big names sort of were in this main building, and our telepathic booth was in I think it was called the bungalow or something, and it was a good 20-minute walk because it's sort of in the forest, and it was like you got to walk a long way. And when I went down
is in the forest.
It's forest, nature. It kind of feels like
NAMM is just in a big ass convention center. It's just like, it's called the Anaheim Convention Center. It's just a massive, like, somewhere between a stadium and a venue, I guess.
Yeah, the big room is definitely a convention center. There was actually like a swimming pool, which is out of it because there was like little kids running around in their togs and shit. And there's swimmers. Sorry for you non-New Zealand people. but then, you know, it was so big that it kind of spread out into into the outdoor area. And then like you kind of just walk through a little bit and then there'd be all these tents set up where there'd be like heaps more modular synths. And again,
Mm.
you have to walk down this massive, beautiful path and then cross a bridge. And we were setting up. I was like, no one's going to come down here. Like this is like really, really far away. But it was just packed the whole time. Like it was like a rugby scrum. You know, people were just like every booth was just people were just like holding onto each other and looking over and stuff. So yeah, it was, I was really impressed with it. I had a really, 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 really good time. It was definitely a reconnaissance sort of trip, which again,
Mm.
I wish I did have those 3 days, so I could have seen some stuff that I would have, you know, just some personal things. I mean, I definitely saw lots of cool shit, but the main thing was sort of networking. I met some really really cool people that I can kind of see a bit of a future with and things like that. So that was my main mission, and then and
Yeah.
then off to Spain for one of our co-founders, Shao. Was having his birthday party in this in like a castle, so that was really really awesome. Just kind of got to go there for a weekend and yeah, just relax. Well, to a degree, you know, do something other than work related things, and then came straight back home. So it's been a
Mm.
pretty. It was 2.5 weeks without any rest, really. This is the most calm I think I've felt in about a month.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
What about you?
those.
Sorry, you were just saying you're gonna take some time, or like is this something you want to talk about, or
Yeah, I'm down to talk about it. Yeah, I'm gonna take next year off shows, just to have a break.
yeah,
Uh, I see a lot of artists out there who will get to this point where they're just like, fuck it, I'm retiring. And they'll like kick up a big stink about it online and be like, I'm done, I'm retiring from music or whatever. And
yeah,
then like a year later, they just come back and they're like, oh, actually, you know, now I've had a rest, I feel good. And now I'm going to come back to music. You know, like there's a bunch of people, like there's people out there who I've seen, I don't want to mention anyone, but I've seen people out there like retire 3 times at this point, or four
I've
times.
done
And
that. I reckon I've done that once. I was like, I'm done.
dude, it just,
This
you
is going
just
to be
need
my
a
last set.
Yeah, you just need to rest sometimes, I reckon. And
Yeah.
I've been pretty much going flat out with shows, or not flat out, like 20, 30 shows a year for the last like 15 years or so.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot. Like to be flying essentially every other weekend for 15 years in a row, it's just like, I just want a year without flying. Like the last time I guess I had a break was during COVID, where I had a
Mm-hmm.
year off, or maybe it's longer than a year, like 18 months or something of just no flying. And it was great. I loved it. And so I just feel like I need that again. And
Yeah.
so I've just been trying to figure out like ways in which I can survive financially
Mm-hmm.
without doing a bunch of shows. So I've been making a new Art of Mr. Bill tutorial series. And actually,
Okay.
next week, I'm renting out these like insane microphones from this company in Atlanta, the Sennheiser 8040s with the Sound Devices Mix Pre. It's like a really solid 32-bit recorder, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna I've been collecting percussion from like a bunch of my friends and stuff, and I'm just gonna spend a bunch of time recording loads of percussion and making like a really organic percussion type sample pack as well, because the last pack I did was just all digital drums, and I feel like I need something. I've noticed when I
Mm-hmm.
make music, I need like the other side of it, like the complementary layers and whatnot to all the digital drums. So I need all the organic stuff, but it's just hard to synthesize that. You really just need to record it.
Absolutely. And I mean, do you find that? I mean, when's the last time you released a sample pack?
Like a few months ago, which
Yeah.
is the 666 drums one that it was just like all digital synthesized drums.
Yeah. Who's this?
This is YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah.
Do you
What's up,
find
YouTube?
do you find that I don't know if it's a topic I want to get deeply into, but you know, is the sort of the sample pack market starting to get saturated with sort of let's just say non-human created samples
Yes,
than
I
the
do
obvious?
think. I mean, to be honest, like Splice is kind of the gold standard for samples, and I feel like they're pretty good at at vetting packs and ensuring that like I feel like they've taken a pretty decent stance on the like no AI stuff.
Yep.
Um, as far as I know, I would need to look into it more, but I'm pretty sure they're like not releasing packs that are AI. But then again, it's like the creators could easily have generated a bunch of stuff from AI and just not told them and whatever. But I
Mm.
still think like the sample pack market in general is very saturated at this point. Because there's a good reward for making sample packs, you can make some decent money that way for sure. But I still think there's room for making specific types of packs, and I think that like every pack that everyone makes is slightly different. Like if you made a pack of samples, they're going to be useful and interesting in a different way than if I made one. And it's the same sort of thing as music, right? It's like everyone's releasing music, yet there's still a good reason I think to make it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
because
yeah, I
it's
think
not just utilitarian, it's like also has some art to it as well.
and going down the route of sort of organic, high quality sample drums is definitely something I can see people wanting to add their collection. It's definitely something I would want to add to
Well,
my
yeah,
collection.
the whole reason I want to make it is because it's something I want. It's like I've for a long time I guess like I've kind of always had this goal in the back of my mind of like whenever I make a song, I want to like just use my own sounds. I want to not
Mm-hmm.
rely on like any other person's sounds. Yet
Mm-hmm.
every time I go to make a song, I am still relying on a lot of other people's sounds or other people's racks or presets or whatever to make the song be as good as it can be. And yeah, I think just at some point I would like to fully just make shit with my own sounds. Though there's also an argument to be made for not doing that as well, because the contrast between sounds, like stuff that you wouldn't make, can also be enjoyable.
How do you mean?
So, I mean, like if you make a song with nothing but operator, right? Like you make all of your
Mm-hmm.
drums with operator, you make every sound with operator. There's kind of like no contrast between any of the sounds. I feel like they all have like a pretty similar response curve to them and they all sound like very similar. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if you mix some sounds from operator with like, some old recordings from an SM57 and then like some funk drums and then, some UKG dub sirens that some dude ran through some sampler or something like this. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that combination of all of those sounds thrown together creates this new thing that's like more powerful than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And so when was the last Mr. Bill series?
It was 2024, I want to say. It was a couple of years ago. And
True,
I feel like
true.
I've learnt a few new things since then. And yeah, I try not to do them unless I feel like my process has actually like evolved in some way, or if I know some new information, or am able to do things more efficiently, or something like this.
Do you find as kind of new releases of doors and plugins and stuff come out that you adapt to the new features, so to speak, or do you sort of stick with what you know?
I try to adapt to the new features for sure. Whenever I see some like 20-year-old kid making music on Twitter or Twitch or whatever it is, I'll watch
Mm-hmm.
them make music and be like, holy shit, like production has gotten so much more efficient. Like I'll watch the way that they do certain things and they're able to just achieve things that I would usually overthink a lot and spend a lot of time on very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like the like chasing efficiency in production. I feel like the quicker you can get a good sounding thing out, the better. I think that's almost always strictly better. And unless you're just trying to enjoy the process for the process, in which case take as long as you want.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. And what are you going to do with your year off?
Honestly, just make tunes, I reckon. Just work
Yeah.
on music for the sake of working on music. Because I feel like I've mostly been making music for sets for the longest time. And while that's fun, I feel like I would like to just make music for the sake of making music for a bit and not have the concern of like how is this going to fit into a set, or how can I make this thing playable and DJable and whatnot. I feel like I just kind of want to make music for the sake of it. Are you making music these days, or are you doing other stuff?
Not a hell of a lot, man. I went through a process of, I think I talked to you kind of off and on over the last few years of um about this, but with the whole telepathic and Orchid thing, which has just dominated my sphere like nothing else, like especially as we were kicking off, and there was like 12, 16-hour days where I was so I'm still making a musical instrument and I'm still being really creative. Like some of the sprints towards like deadlines to try and achieve things felt very similar to, the flow state I would get into when I was creating music. But then I'd be like, sweet, I've got like half a day to write some music. Wow, I haven't had this for months. Let's try this. And I'd sit down, and because I had this end point coming up, I couldn't really allow myself to sing into it because, back when I was just writing music like a mad cunt, it was like, if I was on a roll, I'd just stay up all night, just keep going, because it was just like, there's no point in stopping. If I just sleep, I'm just going to wake up and completely reset everything that's sort of built up. Like the steamrolling motion of the flow stuff was really quite an important part of it. And so
Yeah, it's kind of like the traveling we were talking about earlier as well, right? It's like once you go in, it's hard to stop.
Yeah. So sort of like getting into writing some music with that endpoint, I was starting to get like quite angry at myself. I was starting to get like a little bit spiteful, like I'd be like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, fuck, and some negative self-talk. It's like, oh, what's going wrong? And, I'd even like catch myself kind of like scrolling and seeing like friends, just sort of, succeeding and releasing albums or even tutorial content or like playing gigs. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, like I'm losing it. And then I just kind of, I don't know, it took about six or seven goes of that frustration to just realize, where I'm actually at, what I'm actually doing with my life, and, having the right gratitude and being like, you know what, like I haven't lost interest in music. Like I haven't lost any interest in wanting to write stuff. I've still got ideas. I've still got notes. Just actually just like take a break. Just take a break until everything is rolling. Like we were, with the whole telepathic thing, we were a startup, and it was just like constantly there was just these all hands on decks type things. Like, originally I'm a prototyper. I like building things, and that was fun. And then as we grew, it was like, okay, we started getting people in who were, more, really, really smart at C++ or, DSP or embedded systems. And I sort of naturally just moved into this more managerial thing. And then when we got to kind of launching stuff, I would just be just chaotically doing all this stuff. So I just kind of went, you know what, this is, and until this is all settled down and like we've scaled and we've got a team and I'm back into creative mode, just chill the fuck out. Like don't, maybe I've got like, I haven't got it all set up here. You can see I've started, but I've got bits and pieces here. I've got a few little modular bits and got my push and some pedals and some things and some contact mics. And, like I try to sit down and just make blips and bleeps. It's not even, I'm not even trying to make anything sound good. It's more of a meditation. And that's sort of the extent of my music making at the moment. I'm doing DJ sets pretty sparingly, but, like mainly small gigs in Christchurch or New Zealand or birthday parties, shit like this. That I get a lot of kick out of that, where I can, because, that's a pretty, still enjoyable, but low effort sort of thing for me to do compared to, say, play like a proper Tom Cosm live set, to which I also don't feel comfortable regurgitating or like using something from the past. Like I've always got to feel like I've like got something new to present, whether it's a new way of performing or a new set of stems for a new track or something. Like I can't just play like the same the same set doesn't make me feel very good. But the DJ set's heaps of fun. I can just be like,
Mm.
oh, cool, and I'll just spend half a day and look at my songs on whatever platform and go on Beatport and just be like, oh, this is cool and this is cool, and just play music that I like. And so that's like definitely sufficing I don't know if there's like a a hugging of my ego or anything, but maybe just the love of being able to present music to people like that. That's still there with the DJing. And I mean, again, I've built an instrument, so that sort of suffices the feeling of like giving music to people as well, to a degree, just in a slightly different light. If you can say that. But yeah, look, honestly, no new music. I mean, I've still got a folder of 100 unfinished tracks. I could probably
Sounds
take
like
a month
bunch
off
of
and
new music.
release 10 albums if I finish half of those tracks. But
Right.
that never happens. Well, for me,
Yeah,
anyway.
the finishing of music takes like longer, I feel like, than making. Like I feel like the first 90% of the song, it's like that happens in a day.
Yep.
And then that last 10% for some reason always takes like a month.
Yeah, you're totally right. With the one rare occasion, like, I'm sure you've done this, where you've just sat down and like in a whole day, you've just finished a track from start to finish, just like done. Maybe it's not something you'd sort of release, but it would be like, yeah, this is now like a playable set of stems that I will like always have in my archive. Like I've maybe, it's a very rare occasion, but again, back when I was doing it, I would just sit down, and it's usually, sometimes I'll start and I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'll just fuck around and like play with some samples, do some sound design. And some days I'll just like wake up, or I'll be in the shower, I'll be like, oh, what about if this? And then I'll just sit down at the computer, and those are the days where I kind of almost pretty much have a finished track done. Yeah.
Yeah, usually if I finish a song in a day, I'll still sit on it for like a year or two. And really, it's the rest of the process is just convincing myself that it's done. Like I made a song of mine, Pleasure Seeker, which turned out to be probably my most popular tune ever. I made it in like 3 or 4 hours. And then I sat on it for years and just used it as like a podcast intro tune. Because it was too easy to make, and so I was like, well, it can't possibly be finished. It was too easy, and like I haven't put all this effort in, and literally the only thing I had to do to finish that tune was wait like 2 years to like come back to it eventually and be like, yeah, actually it's finished. It was like the thing that had to be finished was like the way I looked at it, not the tune itself.
You didn't change anything. You just went, no, that's done. Good to go.
I got it mastered. That's the only thing.
Got it mastered, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on the note of me sort of being out of the loop of music production, I mean, I've kept up with Ableton Live just because I've been loyal to them and buddy buddies and everything. So, but I mean, what should I be taking notice of? Like, what have I missed in the last couple of years that you reckon has sort of like really changed things? Whether one thing or an artist.
Serum 2 came out. That was pretty cool. If you use Serum 2, it's definitely worth checking out.
I've got it. Like I got the upgrade and like it's literally installed on my computer, and I probably opened it and been like, oh yeah, nah, fuck this, I'll do this later.
That is like, to me, you could get away with just that synth and nothing else and still have enough variety that things would sound really good. The kilohertz stuff is really good. The Melder stuff is really good. If you're into hardware, I would recommend checking out the Polyend tracker. That's a really fun thing to mess around with, especially on planes. If you're bored, it's like really good for that.
Are they the same people that do the drum thing that I might have seen at Superbooth?
Yeah, the Polyend drum. They just released that. Yeah.
That was probably the one of the coolest things I've seen. I don't know how long that's been around for, but seeing
that just came out.
Demo. Seeing that demo properly, I was just I was pretty enthralled. Like
check out the tracker. The tracker is fucking awesome.
Okay.
They have
Wait, what is it? A standalone thing, or you need to plug it into something?
No, you don't have to plug it into anything. It's just like if you get this, like a few different kinds. There's like a desktop unit, and then there's like a handheld thing that's just basically like a little jungle IDM Game Boy. And I use it on planes all the time. It's honestly been one of the most fun experiences I've had making music in a long time. It's a
Cool.
tracker,
I'm just
so it
looking at
runs
it.
like. Have you used trackers before?
Yeah, yeah. I
Where
started
they?
on I started on Pro Tracker 2 on the Amiga, and
Oh
then
shit, yeah. So,
moved to Buzz Tracker. Hex is my language.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if you like that workflow, it's like a really modern take on that kind of thing, and it's like all standalone inside a single unit, so you can go with it anywhere and fuck with it anywhere. And it's really small too, so like you can almost fit
Hmm.
it in your pocket. There's one that's smaller that some people like called the Dirty Wave M8. But I played with that recently and I didn't like it as much because there's just so many like button combos you have to remember. The whole thing only has like essentially a
Oh yeah.
WASD keyboard on it and then like 2 other keys. And it's like with these 6 keys, you have to do everything. And so like it's a lot of shift and,
Hmm.
this kind of shit, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I definitely I prefer hardware that has a bunch of buttons, but
Hmm.
there's also a balance there. I was going to actually ask you about this.
Hmm.
When you were designing Orchid, because it's really simple, but
Hmm.
it also like everything that you need is there, and if you want to go deeper on it, you can go a little bit deeper on it. But what was the
I'll just say
process
it
like?
now. I'll just say it now. It's Orchid because like
Orchid, sorry, what did I
people
what
say it
did
for
I
the
say?
first time out loud, and it's same spelling. Orchid, 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 like the flower.
What did
I'll
I
just
say?
get that out of the
Orchid.
way. Yeah.
I said Orchid. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, so Orchid.
Hmm.
Like, what was the process like? Because I know with that kind of thing, you could easily add everything to it, and so at some
Oh
point you have
yeah.
to decide,
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to add everything to it. I'm going to just put the most important stuff there. And I guess like the Dirty Wave M8, they had a similar thing. They were like, let's just do like 6 buttons, and then Polyam was like, let's do like 30 buttons, but it's kind of
Hmm.
easy to use because there's more buttons and less shift behavior. And what was the process like with Orchid when you were deciding, maybe whether or not to give people like synth controls, like ADSRs and LFOs and all this kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, it's the idea to only have sort of like 9 knobs and a handful of buttons is a Kevin Parker thing for sure. 100%. His. I mean, if I had it my way, we've got a really good. I'm biased, but we've got a really good sort of proprietary synth engine on there. Like all things are accessible. It's an actual synth engine, and we're not just playing samples or whatever. And if I had it my way, I would have all of these knobs and sliders and everything to be able to do sound design on it. But that just wouldn't fly. And it's not just a Kevin thing as well. Like Ignacio, who's sort of our industrial designer, and basically, all the other co-founders are like, no, we want to keep it this way. And I understood that and I respected why that was. The other reason too was, because we did have this fully customizable synth engine inside it, but we also didn't want to do like menu diving and stuff. So we didn't want people to be able to get into things like changing envelopes and modulation matrix shit and stuff using the unit. There was always, in my mind at least, and I think the others, that we were going to release Pistol, which is the standalone or VST or AU or whatever complementary sort of thing, which is, you can plug it in bidirection. It's a bidirectional thing, so you plug it in and you can just like go straight into sound design, push a button, and you've got a new sound on the Orchid, and it's just it's a full subtractive FM, and there's a little analog modeled sort of electric piano oscillator type, and all the usual things, envelopes, LFOs, effects, stuff like that. Yeah, so we always knew that when it's sort of made for people, it's a doodle machine, like it's don't say that, Tom. That's not a doodle machine. It's like it's an
Wait,
idea.
your one has a different back on it. It's see-through.
This is the new one. This is the Arctic one. This is actually a
Oh
prototype.
shit.
So the Arctic one is way more clear and is a bit more blue. I was trying to find one, but
That's
this
cool.
is a prototype. We just released these. This was the other reason I was in London, as we were releasing these ones. But
is there any different, or
but
is it just a different case?
it's just different case.
Nice.
But they're all sold out already, which is good. But
Yeah, it
yeah, I
looks
mean,
sick.
it's the idea is it's just like it's just it's battery powered. You chuck it in your backpack. It's got speakers. It's got just, you can run it for days. We say 8 hours continuously, but you can go for much longer than that. And yeah, the idea was the people who are buying it is sort of want to pull it out, get an idea down, put it away, and not kind of sit there for hours, sort of menu diving to try and like design like deep sound design stuff. We do have people who want to do that, and it's not an insignificant amount. So that's why we've kind of really invested in, releasing a fully functional kind of software, computer-based standalone VSE, or chuck it in your door or whatever, So that's there for people like you and me who want to actually get in there and design our own sounds. But we do have people
But
who
I
just
feel like
want to
it's
pick it
not.
up.
I feel like it's not the tool for that though. Like if I want to really design sounds, like I'm gonna go for Serum 2 or Vital or like Faceplant or something like that. I feel like this is like I really like that. I feel like in a way, the fact that it is so simple makes it super useful for what it does. It's like basically solving a UX problem for the piano, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's how
I like
that's
that.
how I felt
Yep.
about it when I first fucked with it. I was like, oh yeah, it's like a piano, but for people who can't control like both their hands at once or something.
That's it.
And
And it's actually
yeah.
quite popular with people who play guitar. I've said this in a couple of other things as well, but someone brought this to my attention well after we'd made it and started selling it is like it's sort of like, your left hand buttons, you can kind of choose your chord types with these buttons. And then that's kind of like holding your what do you call it? Like your fret
Yeah, your
position,
fretboard.
your
Yeah.
fretboard, and then you kind of just like move up and down, and you can kind of like change your chord, and then you can kind of move up and down. So it's sort of it's actually quite popular with people who play guitar because it's got a slightly similar thing. It's like you pick a chord, and then you can kind of move it around however you want. But yeah, I mean, it's like like I'm a classically trained pianist, and I've got my keyboard sitting next to me here, and even I just kind of sit down and go, well, even though it's quite natural to me, there's a lot of motor function. I still have to be like, hey, I want to play an A flat, or, A flat minor 9, 6 9 or something, and I've still got to like think about what that is and what finger position I'm doing, what inversion I'm doing. If I'm going to move to a new complex chord, I've got to think about how I move all of my 10 digits to like different things, and that's still a process that sometimes I just don't want to have. Whereas on this, I can just go right, don't, like that. So I find myself using it now quite personally, just for the majority of kind of getting ideas down. You can't. The only thing you can't really do is shred on it. Well, I mean, you can shred on it, but if I wanted to do like a massive solo on an 88 key keyboard, I will switch over to my keyboard, which I can't think you can't see in shot. I keep referencing something that's not there.
Yeah, but again, it's like it's not really the tool for that. I feel like it's. I'm a big fan of when people make single tools that just do one thing super well and don't try to be everything. I feel like most of the software or hardware that I use where it's just trying to do like so much stuff ends up making it like less useful in a way. It's technically more useful. Like you could dig in and do all of this stuff, but you're not going to because it's going to take you half a day just to figure it out, and then it's going to take you another half a day just to like do all the thing. Like, for example, there's this pedal slash module by I think it's Empress Effects called the Zoya, and it's really sick. But it's essentially like Max for Live inside a module. It's like you patch shit together on this like board with like a bunch of these buttons, and it's incredibly powerful and really awesome and fun.
What's it called, sorry?
It's the Zoya, Zoia, by Empress, I think.
That's probably bad practice to be playing on my computer while we're doing this, but I like looking at pictures of what you're talking about. Oh shit!
Yeah. So all of those buttons on the thing, you can essentially like pick an effect, and then you can click one button and then click another button somewhere else to patch those together, and then you can create these like complex patches on there, and it has like it's insane. It's actually fucking like the most insane module I've ever used, the most functional module. But it's not something I'm going to pick up unless I really want to sit there for half a day fucking with it. Whereas like the Orchid, for example, I can, pick it up and mess with it for like a second and get something useful out of it.
That's good. That's what we want to hear. Yeah, I mean that's what it's for. I mean the various taglines is it's like, find what's on your mind. It's an ideas machine. We just want to make it easy to sit down and if you don't have a lot of classical training behind you, or especially when it comes to chords or more complex chords, kind of 4 or 5 part chords or inversions, and you can just kind of sit down there and through trial and error, sort of like either find what you want or do lots of happy accidents. Like it's definitely happy accident machine as well. Like seeing a 5-year-old turn it on and just like have no idea what they're doing, and then just like 30 minutes later they're making some pretty cool music. That's a cool feeling to watch. It doesn't always happen like that. Yeah.
Right.
But instead of, like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a kid sort of playing like chords on a piano and they're just like doing this, on this one, it's kind of like you can turn a 10-year-old into kind of Bill Evans really quickly, just doing these like really complex jazz chords. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but yeah.
I mean, you can if you just mash all the buttons and then press one key on the thing. You do produce a jazz chord.
Yeah.
What was the first like when did Kevin approach you initially and say like I want to build this thing, and if so, like what was his pitch to you?
Yeah, it was well. He just followed me on Instagram one day. This I've told this story a lot, but anyway, he just followed me on Instagram one day, and I noticed because all of his fans just started trying to get in touch with me, like, how do you know Kevin? Which is really nice. So I just messaged him, just like, hey, what's up? And he'd been watching. So there's an old series I did where I was trying to build like a techno set from scratch. It kind of never really went anywhere, but like a lot of my series do that, like I was just kind of make shit what's on my mind at the time and have a lot of fun. And he was following along with that and just said, like I've got this idea. I've sort of managed to make some of it using various Ableton MIDI devices and things like that. But ideally, I want what you see now pretty much as a standalone box. And COVID had just started, so it was a COVID project, I guess you could say. And he's like, "Can you make this one thing for me? Like, I'd like to just be able to pull it out and just quickly like play these chords in this particular way." And I definitely knew how to build it in Max, and I think I built it in Pure Data actually, just so we could run it on Linux, so we could run it on a Raspberry Pi. And yeah, I just was like, we just started sending each other doodles. He'd send me his Ableton racks. I'd start sending kind of Max for Live versions over, and eventually he's like, yeah, can you turn this into a hardware box? And I've always had a bit of fun just with electronics and things, but I'm not a master at it. But I managed to make a box. Where is that prototype? I don't know where it is, but people refer to it as the Tesla truck. It's like the first ever version. It's just like this aluminium box, and it's all square and sharp, and it doesn't look beautiful, but it does effectively what Orchid does today. Orchid's got quite a few more features now, like looping and much better effects and performance modes and arpeggiators and stuff. And I made him this one box. It probably took a year or so before I actually had something finished. And yeah, I sent it over to him.
Was he paying you to do this, or you were just doing it because you felt like it? Okay, gotcha.
No, it was a contract thing. I was like, oh yeah, this will take me this long, and blah blah blah, and it'll cost this much, and I just kind of fulfilled the contract and sent him this one thing, which I thought was going to be a personal item for him to enjoy and use. And then he came back and he's like, cool, let's make lots of these and sell them. What do we do? I mean, I don't fucking know. I sit in a dark room and just tinker away. I make one-off things. But I did find out. I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's go on this journey. And found a really, really good developer, BJ, who's been with us since almost the start. Senior developer, embedded systems, and he just kind of took a lot of my Pure Data and Mac stuff. He can understand he's one of these guys who can just look at it and pick it up. I remember one day he works in C++, and we were me and another guy were prototyping in Python, and he was sort of watching us. And then the next day when we caught up, he was like working in Python. And was like, I didn't know you knew Python. He's like, oh yeah, I just picked it up like yesterday when I was watching you guys. So
Mm.
he's been a legend, and then we just started getting more and more people on board. People to make it look nice, Again, Ignacio kind of did all the industrial design with again a lot of input from Kevin, and then we started getting kind of Charles Love and Money, which is like a branding marketing agency from Australia, mostly based in Melbourne, sort of came on board and created the whole like vibe of the thing. And like I'm focused on the inside of the box, like I'm still working on like the sound and the bits and pieces and my team now, which there's a few people who are all focusing on this. And I remember the day suddenly just like seeing all the branding and everything that they were starting to advertise it with, and just going, holy shit, like this is like this is a vibe. Like I'd have my blinders on. I was just such a monotropic kind of state, working on getting this thing. Anything inside the case was sort of my responsibility, and yeah, just kind of went from there, and everything was. This is turning into a bit of a life story now, but like everything just sort of just really took off, and we didn't really have the staff to kind of delegate the right things to the right people. So I was like, one minute I'd be doing customer support, the next minute I'd be over here fixing something, the next minute I'd be doing just some code jockey stuff, just like really, just things really outside my lane. And that happened for like 2 or 3 years. And I'm finally, what I was getting at, here's a nice full circle thing, is I'm finally feeling like I'm at a place now where I'm back into just a fully creative role. Like we're thinking about the future. We've got a 5-10 year plan. We've got ideas for where we want to go next. And I'm sort of sitting here with things all over my bench that are really, really cool and really, really new, like completely new technology, completely new ideas and things that may or may not work. And I'm just kind of sitting here tinkering away again and having a great time. So I'm finally at that stage where I feel like I'm the most useful, or my brain is the most useful. Yeah. And that also means, hopefully, I don't want to curse it, but I think hopefully I can start writing some music. That'd be cool, eh?
Yeah. I mean, you're making all the tools to do it.
Mm.
Yeah,
So that's me in a
the
nutshell.
marketing for Telepathic Instruments has been great. I remember seeing that video with Matt Berry in it. That was that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that
man.
kind of marketing is a lot of fun.
To be able to get him, and especially like Jermaine Clements as well, like, because that was the kind of
Mm.
the two stars of that video. Matt Berry doing the acting, and I think some people don't realize, but Jermaine Clements is doing the overdub audio, doing the narration throughout the whole thing. Both of them they just loved it, and they just loved the concept, and were really, really keen to get involved. Someone just sent me a video last night of it looks like Flight of the Conchords doing some touring again, playing like, I don't know if they're doing new material or their old stuff, but someone sent me a video, and like Jermaine's sitting there with an Orchid live on stage.
Oh, nice.
Which that made me feel real warm, like seeing that, he actually likes it enough that it's now part of his live performance as Flight of the Conchords. And
Yeah,
every
that's
Kiwi
awesome.
is so aggressively proud of Flight of the Conchords. It's like one of our wins. It's like Lord of the Rings and Flight of the Conchords, our two main
Yeah.
exports that we're proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What are the new ideas you're working on? I mean, you don't have to give me the full idea, but like, what's the general? I mean, give me as much information as you want, I guess. I'm just curious to know what you're working on. Or no,
Yeah.
I
Well, look.
really just want to know what you're finding exciting and what this
Yeah.
new technology is that you're stoked about.
Yeah. Yeah. I really have to watch my words here, like, because some of it, particularly one or two things, which will be a while away, are.
Is it still like kind of interface driven, like make music with a tool kind of vibe, or is it
Yeah. It's,
more
to
along the
me,
like?
it's. We're trying to come up with new ways to make people experience the art of playing and experiencing music in general. Um, I'm going to have to leave it at that. Like we sort of we were mucking around with some prototypes over in London, and we sort of got to the point where we figured something out, and we're like, holy fuck, we need like some serious lockdown on what we're actually doing here. So I'm not gonna. That sounds real hypey. I don't mean to be. I don't want to do that, especially not in this podcast with you. But like that's sort of why I don't really want to say anything more on that. What I can say is, like a big part of what we're doing now is kind of, Orchid is great, and we've sort of iterated on it over and over. As far as like firmware goes, that's been a learning process. The whole thing is just we built it from the ground up, including as you know, the synth engine and the operating system. Just everything is our own work, and obviously that's come with a lot of learning curves and bugs, and this it's been there's been a lot of well, this doesn't actually work properly. Let's make it better. And now we're sort of looking at to how can we what could we have done better hardware wise, like looking at the circuitry, looking at the schematics, looking at the chips and the things and all the components that we use to actually build it. It's like, what could we have done better there? And, like, do we want to, do we sort of want to expand on this? I mean, it's still a very popular thing. Do we want to do a Mark II? Do we want to do a Mark III? Do we want to just like keep doing things like that? We're at a stage where we have lots of new ideas, and we're sort of trying to slot those in and trying to make decisions on what we're actually going to build and when, and like the cadence of releasing stuff. So I think, again, I can't really say too much, but we're not going anywhere, and we're seriously thinking about the future and future products now. Yeah. I wish I could just tell you everything. Me, I just want to tell everybody everything all the time, but I have to express some self-control here.
Yeah, no worries. Well, one thing that you maybe ought to tell me is just like what the experience was like for building the thing in general, like on a technical, from a technical perspective. Like, what kind of chips are in it? Is it like a teensy board or like a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino or something? And like, how do you even build an OS for something like that? How do you build an OS at all?
We did. Well, the original prototype, not the original, one of the prototypes kind of after the one that I built. The one that I built was on a Raspberry Pi 4, and that was running Linux. That's why I used Pure Data, because it can run on Linux. And then it had an Arduino Mega, which was controlling like all of the inputs and outputs, and they were sort of just linked via a USB cable. And then when we moved into like more embedded system stuff, we started working on the Raspberry Pi Zero. And then we moved to a SMT32 chip. So it's sort of, we can't remember the exact model, but yeah, we've sort of, I mean, someone's done a full teardown video on YouTube if anyone's interested, and they've pretty much got
everything. It's like it's just a little like processor basically.
Yeah. It's an MCU. We've got a clock running, running a speed on it, and yeah, it's basically just running everything. It's like to the middle, like everything we've built is compiled and just down to the bare metal sort of ones and zeros and shit like that. That's where it started to get beyond me, like again, I know my way around Python and JavaScript a bit, but C++ isn't really my forte. I've come to learn a lot about it, and electrical engineering and mechanical engineering and all those other things from just kind of being around the development of it with these people who are experts in those lanes, sort of developing it and reporting back on how things are going. But yeah, it's and it's what's really fun is kind of like, we started on a Raspberry Pi Zero. I can't remember what the specs of that are off the top of my head, but we were like, okay, well this is sort of the benchmark for sort of the power and processing power and RAM and everything that we're going to actually need to run this. And then as we started getting these people in who are, optimization wizards, kind of realizing that we can actually shrink this down to such a fraction of the size of what we actually need, with a bit of headroom, because we are releasing firmware updates quite regularly, and suddenly we might be able to be, we want to like extend the reverb time by this amount. We might want to, be able to have kind of 2 synth presets playing at the same time or something like that. So there's still headroom, but it was really interesting to me trying to find that sweet spot of picking a processor and RAM and everything that comes with it, and how they actually communicate, and the speed in which they communicate with each other. And yeah, that's it's all been really, really fascinating. Like before this, I could hardly use a soldering iron. Now I can pretty accurately read like full PCB schematics and things like that. So I've learned a lot. And you know me, like as long as I'm learning, I'm happy.
Have you ever tried to solder a microcontroller like the SMT32 into a board?
Nah,
I've
man.
never tried. I've watched some YouTube videos. There's this dude on YouTube called Mend It Mark. He's this like British dude, and I watched him do it once, and he did it with a heat gun, not actually a soldering iron. It's like you just put a heat gun over the
on, and it
sand.
just goes
exactly
into place.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
satisfying.
It's crazy.
Yeah. No, look,
shit's wild.
my ability to solder like micro components, like tiny resistors and caps and diodes and stuff onto PCBs is I wouldn't even like, if it was important, I wouldn't even try. Like I could just see myself with a soldering iron going whoops and just like taking dirty components off the board in one go. I don't even have a soldering iron tip that could do that. And it kind of you really need it seems like you really need a good microscope and things like that as well, and anti-glare stuff and all this type of stuff. Like I'm fascinated by. I've got sun coming down through my eyes. Yeah, I'm fascinated by it, but yeah, like it's not. That's where my expertise stops. I can do the big stuff. Like I like breadboarding things and big capacitors and big resistors where I'm actually holding a thing now because I'm fidgeting, but you can just kind of put things in like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I recently built a bunch of these Erica synths modules. They were just like kits, but they were fun to build for sure.
I was looking at those last night, and there's that really cool breadboard thing as well.
Yeah, the one by Moritz Klein.
Yeah.
I built like eight or nine of them. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So do they just come as
a bunch of modules?
Circuit boards, components, and just sort of instructions on how to assemble it all together, or what's the sort of level of?
Yeah, that's the level. It's super beginner. Like it's pretty hard to fuck it up.
Yeah.
You just you get a bag of components, a PCB, and you can get the instructions on the internet, or you don't even really need the instructions. You can kind of just look at the board and figure out where shit goes, and then just solder it all together. And yeah, it's fun. I really like soldering, to be honest. I find it like kind of meditative. Like it's a chill thing to do. Yeah.
I like my favorite part is it's got a bunch of stuff here. So it's like little ESP32, but when it doesn't come with the little headers or traces, I forget what they're called. I think they're headers. When it comes like this, when it's just flat, and you need to solder these in. I love soldering these in because you just kind of like plonk it in, and then you just got to go across every single little little thing.
Oh yeah. I
find it very satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you messed around with vibe coding at all, like using Claude to code or ChatGPT or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
What do you think about it?
I have a lot of fun with it. Like I on a personal level, like I don't do it for anything to do with like actual production of our product, but I love sitting down and being like, I've got what's the recent thing I did? My mum pulled out like an old cassette tape of her interviewing me when I was 3, which is pretty rare for someone like my age. Like I think dad managed to find a dictaphone at work and bring it home, and the tape was nearly dead, and I managed to digitize it, and so I've got like half an hour of me talking when I was 3, and I was sort of listening to it and I was fascinated, but the most like real kind of jarring, shocking part of it was it was very performative. So mum was like, "Now, Tommy, what did you dream about last night?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, you were dreaming about the moon." And so it's kind of like it's like an interview. It's not actually like a natural environment of me in 1986 or whatever. But there's moments where like Like my dad will interrupt and be like, "Oh, hey, what do you want for dinner?" or something like that, and then suddenly my mum and my dad are having a quick conversation, and it's real impactful and nostalgic to me because suddenly it's like that's like real life shit happening in this recording.
Mm.
Or you can hear my dad and my sister in the background sort of doing the dishes or whatever. So I was sort of like, I was like, okay, well here's this audio file, like get rid of me and mum and just like play me the ambience of the room. Again, it's magnetic tape, it's old, rah, rah, rah. It's probably hallucinated a bunch of shit. But I was sort of
Mm.
listening there and like I could hear the sound of our old fridge, which I've forgotten about. And I could kind of hear where in our house we were. Like it's kind of like all of these nostalgic childhood things. And I was just like talking out loud to the thing. I was like, no, what about if you did this? Oh, and then I was like, well, actually take my voice now and take my voice when I was 3 and then like build a granular synthesizer with a web-based application and then just like granulate like me as a 3-year-old, me as a 42-year-old together and let's, and I just have heaps of fun like that. I guess you could say that's creative sonically, perhaps not musically, but I've got unfinished tracks. I've just got project folders and project folders of me just, you know, doing these things. I think the fascinating thing is, like a couple of years ago, either at work or on a personal level, someone's like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this?" And we'd be like, "Ha ha ha,
Mm.
yeah, like wouldn't that be cool?" And now we
Yeah,
no longer. It's
where
no
you get the
longer like,
time.
yeah, now it's no longer like we can't do that. It's like, well, how far away are we from actually being able to build that? Like, no idea is actually too fucking out there, really. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I like about it. Is like any dumb idea that you have, or like some crazy, you're like, yeah, let's granulate, like remove me from this recording, granulate me from then with me now. It's like you would have that thought 10 years ago and be like, yeah, that'd probably be interesting, but like, there's only so many hours in the day. Whereas now it's like you can just spin up an agent and be like, yo, do this, and it does it in like 10 minutes. It's crazy.
Are you? I'm going to guess that you're messing with it. Like, is there
Oh,
anything you're
100%.
doing that?
I think I sent you one of the things that I made. It's called Live Lens, and you can just right click, enable some project file, and open it in like a second in your web browser.
Oh, yeah.
Because like often,
gzip XML, right?
yeah, exactly. And so it's really just
Yeah.
an XML parser, and then it just draws stuff in a DOM in the web browser. But because I always have this issue where well, there's a few issues I have. One is somewhere along the line, I'll delete a bass or something because I've rendered it to audio or whatever. And then when I get to the end of the process, I'm like, actually, I need the MIDI back for that now because like the context has changed a bit. I need to change some notes or the patch is like, the sonic structure of the song has changed so much that this patch doesn't quite work, but it almost works. And for one reason or another, I need to go find the MIDI from an old version. And the way I work with this thing called Live Enhancement Suite, which is this really old auto hotkey script that someone made. And so I never hit Control S to save. I always hit Control Alt S to save. And what that does is just saves the project with like a number at the end. So if I hit Control Alt S once, it just saves it as _1. And then if I do it again, it just saves it as _2. So I end up with like hundreds of these things for this reason, so I can step back and always get back to something that I need. But stepping back through the projects takes a long time because
to find
that
MIDI clip if you want, like which version.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so like every time I open the previous project, it's like 3 or 4 minutes waiting for Ableton to load that project, and then go back on. It's like another 3 or 4 minutes. And so that was one of the problems. Because that's mostly a visual activity. I think is like if I can just see like roughly in the session like where it is and the color it is and all this kind of stuff, is pretty obvious to me that like that's the thing I need. And then sometimes the way I do it is with like a binary search type thing. Like I'll look at project 1, and then if it's not there, I'll look at project 50, and if it's not there, I'll look at project 25, and if it's not there, like I'll kind of that's kind of the way that I try to do it to find stuff faster. But then once I actually get to the project that has the thing, then I need to go like, well, is that the latest iteration of it? And then from there, I need to start searching like the ones before and after it. And so I basically made this tool to solve that problem. And then the other problem it solves is that I
So
collaborate with
sorry.
people
This
a
is
lot.
this is why it'll just go through it, unzip it, look at it, and be like, "Cool, this is the last time that this was a MIDI file before this turns into like a
No,
WAV
no, it
file."
just No, it just lets you open the Ableton project in your browser and look at it in like about a second instead of like 3 or 4 minutes. So,
Mm.
and then once you're in the browser, you can just hit your left and right arrow keys to go forward one or back one, and it takes like a second to jump to a new one. So it's pretty quick to just like
That's
quickly
awesome.
skim back through a bunch and then be like, all right, that's where it is. So that's the first problem it solves. The other problem is that I do a lot of collabs, and quite often I need to send someone the plugin list to be like, here's all the plugins. Do you have all of these? What do I need to freeze?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just have to freeze everything, and that's kind of a waste of space and also takes a while. And so the other thing it does is reads all the plugins in the project, and then I can just copy out a list as like a nicely formatted block of text and just send it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could just be like, what do you have? What do you not have? Or the other thing is I could send them Live Lens on their end, and they could open it in their browser, and it could just show them which plugins are missing too, because it checks the plugins in the session against the plugins on your disk.
Mm-hmm.
So they could also just copy out a formatted list to me and say like, here's all the shit you should freeze. So that's the main problems.
I think that's brilliant. I just on the collab thing, like, I think I've talked to you about this before, but it used to be I had some Max for Live devices which I'd try to watch everything I did when I produced. And the whole idea is that they sort of would be able to predict where I might be able to go next. It was more of a concept. I started building it and never really finished it. But then now I'm sort of thinking, on the whole remix front. I mean, you've got who's doing the they did it for you. I think they did it for me. I don't think my pack got released, but kind of be like Mr. Billify your sounds or whatever it is. Who did that?
Datamind Audio.
Datamind, yeah.
The combobulator.
Combobulator, yeah. But the thought of like, I'm sure you've thought about this before, but if you can, if you've got a running log, like an undo history in Ableton Live, that's just basically a running log of everything you do when you produce a track, including your mistakes, backtracking, fixing things. And if you train, it's like, okay, well, look, this is how Mr. Bill writes music, and then turn that into a profile, and then rather than like you send me a bunch of stems or an Ableton project with a bunch of frozen stuff, you just like, look, here's my like profile, and I'll just start writing music, and this profile is sort of influencing. Like I'll go to do something, and it'll be like, oh no, Mr. Bill would do this, so I'd sort of be writing music, but it would be through like the lens of your brain, so to speak. And it's just like, I really like the idea of that. Or you could just like write a track and then just be like, cool, now process it through like Mr. Bill's profile, and like suddenly they've got this new form of remixing. This is a very undeveloped and unhinged idea, but it's like
I've thought of this before as well. Yeah,
it's not an unrealistic thing, and it's probably going to happen. Someone go build it, please, and send it to me and build.
Yeah, I did start looking into this, and this is partially what got me to end up building this other thing. Another thing that I've thought that could be interesting that's along the same lines of that is if you just ran something in the background that watches all of the actions that you do in Ableton or whatever software for the length of the time you wrote the track. So maybe it watches you for 12 hours or something. It'd be cool to take all of that data and build it into like a graph that you can view in a web browser, where you see like from left to right, like a linear progression of how you wrote music, and like where forks happened and where they like reconverged, and where you like split ideas off and all this kind of stuff, from just like kind of a general like writing process perspective. And I think that would be interesting, first of all, to understand, like, because quite often what I do when I write music is I'll make an idea, but then that first idea is too sweet, and so I have to destroy it a few times and like reprocess it and fuck with it a bunch before I get to something a little weirder that I feel like I haven't quite heard before. and I would like to just skip that whole first bit if possible and just go to the idea that I like. And so having
Mm-hmm.
some sort of graph where you could like view, like if you did this for hundreds of tunes, eventually you'd probably find patterns where you're like, all right, I could probably actually just skip this whole thing and go to these ideas, which I tend to like more. And you could also use it as a tool to avoid doing things that you normally do as well. Like you could also find patterns like, oh, it seems like I always do this in this case. So maybe like the
Yeah.
next time I'm in that situation, I'll do the opposite thing. Or, yeah.
It's like you're flowing and then suddenly there's like this 5-hour chunk where you're trying to place like a snare drum in the stereo spectrum,
Yep.
Well, and okay, here's an interesting one. So not, I've got some agents running when I'm working, and what I do is this is only in some circumstances because there's, various privacy issues and but I'm using a Mac and I'm using ScreenPipe, and I'm constantly recording my screen. And then every minute or so, it takes screenshots every 5 seconds of what I'm doing. It uses Olama to process them, just in case like there's some personal shit that is in there. So Olama locally is sort of acting as a firewall, so to speak, so I don't leak anything, company information or private information. And I use Claude, so I don't want to suddenly like send, like the quarterly budget or something through to Claude by accident. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, nothing is safe with Claude.
No. But this way is good because it's like, you were, let's just say, okay, I'll cut to the chase. Like, what happened is one day I just opened up Ableton Live and I just started to track from scratch. And then when I went through the thing, it was like, you just did like a 2-hour creative session. And I was like, oh, can you tell me a bit more about it? It's like, well, yeah, you started with the default project and then you deleted, because Claude knows everything about Ableton Live. And it's like you started and then, the first MIDI track, you loaded up a kick drum and you spent like 5 minutes trying to find a kick drum. And then you put down a 4/4 kick drum and then you opened up, like Serum, and you started running a bass line, and then you changed this thing and you added this wavetable. And it actually had a full running log of everything that I'd done in that creative session from the start to the finish. I'm sure it hallucinated a few things, but like that was that was a side effect of something. And like if you actually wanted a very real way to get that graph, that's the way to do it, is just like have your screen constantly being monitored. I know, like I'm a bit new to Macs, and I still use a PC for production, but yeah, it's just this screen pipe thing, feeding it into a llama if you want to be safe. If you accidentally like open up Signal or something and start talking to somebody, you don't really want that to kind of be fed into Claude. But it's like that was a really, really quick way of doing it. And just through screenshots of Ableton Live, like every 5 seconds it was taking a screenshot, it built a complete journey in great depth of my production process for that session. I haven't explored it further. I just thought I'd tell you and anybody else who's watching that is a thing that you can do.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to do it. That is not the way that I would have done it. The way that I initially thought to do it when I first was thinking about this is that you would just unpack the XML from the Ableton file like every 5 seconds or something, but that actually wouldn't work because you would have to hit save all the time so that it actually produce a new thing. So I do think you're onto something there. I think that's the way to do it, yeah.
I have actually tried the XML version. What I tried to do was I did it. I did it the way we're talking about, and then it started kind of learning. And then I was like, okay, now do it for me and start doing the XML part for me. But every time I tried to open the new Ableton Live file that it created, it was like, oh no, this is all corrupt and fucked. And there was, and I found ways around that. I was like, why is it corrupt and fucked? And it was like, oh, okay. Oh, this is why. I'll change this. And then, but I got as far as
update the pointy IDs or something.
Yeah, it was mostly ID shit. Yeah. And then I think I ended up with like an 8-bar loop that sounded absolutely terrible, but it was a good concept. And this was probably a year ago as well. Like who knows where things are at, But I think the if you can look, if you've only got Ableton Live open and you don't mind, just you've got the processing power to just like screen record and take screenshots every 5 seconds. I don't know. I'd like it to just take screenshots every 5 seconds, but for some reason it said the most efficient way was to record MP4s and just extract frames. which was totally sufficient. You can definitely hear my computer churning along when it's doing it, and it's a pretty modern MacBook. But that is a really accurate way to capture everything that you're doing. And
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
point. Like I just recorded about 20 hours of me making a tune from start to finish, so maybe I'll look into that actually.
just feed that through.
Speaking of
Yeah.
the safety of Claude, did you see that it leaked its own source code recently?
No, no.
Yeah.
I've been away for a bit. Tell me about it.
So Claude literally just like unprivated the Git repo for Claude. So Claude's source code is now just out there.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
did
if you
this
just
happen?
Google like a few weeks ago, if you just Google
Yeah.
like Claude source code, it's out there now. You can just download it.
But I mean, what can you do with that though? You know,
I have no
I
idea,
mean,
but it's just pretty like
interesting.
it's super like not supposed to be out there, but apparently it just I don't know. The other thing I think is like maybe Anthropic just did this as like a PR marketing stunt or something like this. But it's like I think it has all of the weights, and like getting all of those weights is what costs billions of dollars to train. And so if you can just get those weights, then I mean that seems like a pretty important thing to protect, right?
Yeah. Are you primarily using Claude or Anthropic stuff?
No, I primarily use OpenAI stuff.
Yep.
I think I might switch to Claude though because I've heard it's way better for coding. And yeah, I don't know. I just started on ChatGPT and I just still have the subscription, so I just use it. And Codex is actually really good now, I think. But I've heard Claude is still better. So
I've heard that. I've heard a few people who would diehard Anthropic people say like Codex is currently or was currently a few weeks ago sort of a little bit more superior as far as agentic stuff goes. I mean, it depends on what you're using it for.
right,
Yeah,
they're all insane at this point, honestly.
yeah. Like I have it's turned off at the moment, but I have sort of like a little personal assistant that I've whipped up. It's sort of it was like pre what was it, OpenClaw stuff. It's just sort of keeps a running log of it's a read only thing. It reads my emails, reads like with some restrictions, some Slack stuff, and a few other things, and just sort of bumps me and be like, hey, like this person asked for something kind of 2 days ago and you haven't responded. But then it also does a few things like, I was like, oh, I've got a Fitbit. Oh, let's just link it. It's like a poking machine, man. It's like, oh, might as well just link that in there. And it's like, oh, hey, on days that you're really tired, you tend to like, make this particular mistake at about from 12 till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, that's pretty interesting, and then next thing you know, you're like giving it your bank account and your therapy notes and everything. I don't do that, but all these people, all these people I know sort of see this little personal assistant thing that I've got and it's like, oh, can I have that? And I'm always a little bit worried about it because it's just so easy to just be like, oh, tell me what. Here's like the chat history of me and my wife. Like, are we going to have a divorce in the next 5 years? It's just kind of like so easy to just throw stuff in there. And I mean, they're all yes men really still, right? It's like, I'm just going to assume by default, they're just going to tell me what I want to hear. So.
Yeah, it's a bit of that for sure. And it's also like what comes out is fairly random, especially with the coding shit. It's like you ask it to do something and it's like the output is not completely random, but it's quite random a lot of the time. How do you feel about AI music stuff? Have you messed around with any of that? Like Suno or anything? Or
Oh, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I hadn't mucked around with Suno for fun. It's pretty good. I haven't played with it for a while. Like it's
really the output sounds really good at this point.
I did it for lols, I was like, let's just make a funny song about butts or something. I don't know. Like I think most people probably do when they first load it up. Yeah, look, I don't know. Mixed feelings. I mean, for me personally, you were talking about just writing music for yourself, or like me just playing, making blips and bleeps, and it's just for me, it's for no one else. I feel like, when you've got something that is just like, give me the finished product, like you miss that whole process in between. And it doesn't matter if you're like learning to produce or you know how to produce, you've been doing it for 20 years, like that's the part the dopamine is at, it's not the end product. I mean, it's I know it's a lot more simple than that. Like I'm not shitting on it. Like I know that people are using it for sort of inspiration to then like completely recreate stuff from scratch. It's like prototyping with vibe coding, right? Like, it's like, cool, here's an idea, rather than let's mock up some screenshots and be like, right, now imagine how this would work. It's like, oh, let's just make a working product. And if it's good, then it's like, cool, let's give it to some developers to build it from the ground up. So like, I think there's definitely some positives there. Again, I don't actually know where it's at. I don't think I've fired it up for months. How about you? What's your thoughts?
I've used it a bit. Like I'll periodically check in and like muck around with it. I don't know, every couple of months or so. And the last time I did this was like a week ago. And every time I go and mess with it, it's a little better. I feel like when I first started using it, I was like, I mean, the ideas are there. It's like kind of producing a song, but it sounds like it's got all this like weird artificial like spectral noise shit on it, and like sounds really dodgy and has a bunch of artifacts. And then that kind of stopped.
That was what
Sorry,
like I think just yesterday Ben Jordan was talking about like being able to detect when something is AI music, just because like it was trained on compressed music. So therefore, when you listen to something like a wave file and it's got that sort of compression artifact in it, I wonder if it's anything to do with that. Like, I mean, it's much easier to train shit on MP3s than it is on lossless files, right?
Yeah, totally. And so it's probably part of that. And I know there's another part where they will put like these weird high frequency spikes in it as like a signature to say like this was produced with Suno, and they're apparently pretty hard to get rid of. Then you can see them on some of these AI tools. If you look at it through a spectrum, you can see them as well. There's like these 2 or 3 really big spikes at like, some random place up in the extremely high frequency range. And I mean, you could just low pass filter them out or sue them or something, but they're still going to be there to some degree, I think. But even whatever the reason is as to why it had all those weird artifacts, it doesn't really have them anymore as of last week, I guess, or I don't know when they solved this, but it's sounding a lot cleaner. Like it's basically sounding like professionally finished music at this point. But I agree, it robs you of the whole process, which is like the fun part. It's like why you do it in the first place, right?
I mean, what are you doing when you're loading it up? Are you just like, oh, I wonder where this is at now? Write me a bass tune or something like that. Like what kind of?
Usually, I'll try a few things.
Because I'm going to give it a go after this.
So the first thing I'll usually try is I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll be like, hey, I want to make a song that's, whatever, left field bass, something like, I don't know, Sammy Vergy meets Infected Mushroom or something like this. And then I'll be like, give me a Suno prompt, so I don't have to like think about writing this big 5-paragraph thing. And it'll just give me a really big elaborate prompt, and I'll just give that to Suno and be like, make something. And then it'll make something. And then the other thing that I've tried is you can have it remix your music. So you can have like a half finished song and then you can put it into Suno and be like, finish the song basically. And it'll finish this. Yeah. It'll like, well,
so you just, oh no.
Yeah, it'll remix your drop, or like it'll you can basically put a song in, like it can be even a finished song, and then just be like, remake this in the style of X, or remake this but add a bunch of like cool little things that aren't there, or redo this but like change the harmony from minor to major or something like, and it can do all that kind of stuff, which is
I could just take all my old, like 2010 Psytrance, my whole entire Psytrance live set, 90 minutes, and just be like, cool, turn this into UK Garage, get the tracks, use stem separation, and then I've got like a UK Garage set ready to play. You reckon?
Yes, you could do that, and you can even get the stems from
Fuck, that's
Suno.
fucked.
You can
Oh,
even
from
get the
Suno.
stems from Suno now. Yeah, like it produces a thing, and you can just be like download stems or whatever, and it gives you the stem, and it gives you the MIDI as well,
What sort of
which is
options as far as like separation, let's say resolution goes, because most of the, whatever third party service everyone's using, Ableton and stuff, you've just got your bass vocals, drums and synths and whatever.
yeah.
Like, can
I
you,
think it's the same. Yeah, I don't
okay.
think it's yeah, but yeah, it is kind of fucked how good it is now. Like I still don't. It's even though it can. I don't think it's like quite as good as people yet, or like at least the best people,
Mm-hmm.
or the people that I really love. Like it's not as good as Tipper yet, for example. But
Is that your
it.
benchmark?
Yeah, Tipper's probably my bench. Well, no, his like he's goated. He's like the peak. Like my benchmark
Mm.
is much lower than Tipper, but um, it's probably as good as my benchmark, but it's not as
You're
good as
right.
like it's not as good as the best,
Mm.
in terms of like the sound quality and all of this kind of stuff, and also the ideas it comes up with often are like very, I feel like low hanging fruit ideas. It's always like the harmony and melody that you would expect, and like the structure you would expect, and everything. It never like it feels like it doesn't take as much chances with trying to do weird shit. You
Mm.
could probably tell it too, though, I guess. But yeah, it's a weird time we live in. I feel like the last time we chatted was like what 3 or 4 years ago. None of this shit existed.
2020, 6 years
Yeah,
ago. Yeah.
none of this existed, and now it's like we live in a completely different world. Have you read
Me
the
too.
AI 2027 paper yet? It was written
No.
by some like AI researchers. They reckon that AI is going to wipe us out in 2030, but by 2027 we'll be like basically enslaved to it to some degree. It's
Okay.
pretty
That's not
dark.
too far
It's,
away.
it's not far away. Yeah, it's next year,
No.
and it's
I've got shit.
yeah,
I've got shit
it's
I
a
need to do before that.
same.
Mm.
Which
Mm.
is unfortunate. I don't know if this will happen. I mean, it's probably not going to happen with LLMs. Did you watch that podcast with Dwarkesh Patel and Richard Sutton, where
No.
Richard Sutton was talking about how like LLMs are a dead end. You're never going to get to like artificial general intelligence with LLMs, and that we need to start looking into reinforcement learning if we ever want like proper generalized intelligence or whatever. And so maybe that'll happen.
Yep.
Currently, it seems like it's just all LLMs, and I don't really see the whole human enslavement thing happening with LLMs either.
I mean, that's what we have access to, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
Mythos is like, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one. Yeah. It's just kind of like, I was thinking back, I didn't listen to it, but just thinking back to our podcast in 2020, we were just like talking about meditation and various bullshittery, and here we are. So much has changed, eh? Like it's do you
Yeah.
feel like, okay, here's a question for you. Do you feel like, when I was born with no internet. I think you are a bit younger than me. I'm not sure. You
I was
definitely are.
born with. I got internet when I was 15.
You got internet when you was 15. I got internet when I was
Mm.
15 as well, pretty much. Maybe a few years earlier. So it was like my childhood was like running around and playing in trees and fucking sword fights with sticks and things.
Mm.
And so I've gone from no, let's say consumer internet, because it did exist when I was a kid, but like that to we're going to be enslaved by technology by the next kind of 4 years.
It's fucking insane.
I feel like our generation has pretty much got this prime seat of like wildness. But then I'm kind of wondering, like, has every generation, can every generation sort of make that claim? Like I feel we're special and we've had this special vantage point of this crazy timeline. But it's like, is it the same with automobiles? Is it the same with electricity in the streets and all this kind of stuff? Like, am I actually feeling like I'm living something which other generations didn't get, or is this just another phase of it? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and I kind of like half agree, because you like, let's say you were born in, I don't know, when was the car invented? Like whenever, let's say it was 1920. I'm just
Yep.
guessing.
Yep.
So like, let's say you're born in 1900. So you spent the first 20 years of your life walking around a bunch, and then all of a sudden a bunch of people had cars. I know it wasn't that fast, but like let's say it was.
Yep.
And then you're driving around everywhere instead of walking around everywhere. It would change the way you live a lot. Like you'd be able to go much further, much faster. You'd be able to do much more stuff in the day. You'd be able to, carry a lot more stuff with you at any given time and all this stuff. So like it would change a bunch of like how you lived, but I don't know if it's comparable to like 6 years ago. I got internet when I was 15 and now there's like personal assistants, self-driving cars, like all this kind of shit. Maybe it is. I don't know.
There's probably like a word for this effect. I don't know. I remember my dad's like in his mid, I wouldn't say his age, but anyway, he was telling me when he was at university, they got their first, calculator, one of those big mechanical ones, I don't know if you've seen the video, you try and divide by zero and it nearly blows up the room. And he was telling me about how that was just like one of the most revolutionary things that they could think of at the time. And he was studying a particular topic which required lots of statistics, and suddenly like slide rules and all of these things and I don't know, abacus is whatever the fuck they were using before calculators, like just went out the door. And it was like, now we have this thing that does calculations for us. And to him, that was one of the most miraculous things that he's experienced in his life, is having access to one of the first calculators in New Zealand. And yeah, I don't know. We've certainly got a front row seat. I mean, I plan to be, if AI doesn't kill me, I plan to be and harvest my carbon. I plan to be more alive for longer than 2030. That's for sure. I feel like we're going to see some shit. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm partially excited, but I'm also like, I'll go through these periods where I'm like, man, the world is absolutely fucked, and then I'll be optimistic for a bit, and then I don't know. Do you think all this technology makes us better or no?
I don't know if I have an answer for that, but I can tell you I know so many friends and couples and stuff who are pretty much deciding not to bring children into the world because of the state of it, which is like quite an interesting thing. Like I wonder if we're going to go through this depopulation thing. Just people don't want to. Maybe it's not necessarily related to AI. Some of them are. Some of them are. But it's kind of like they don't want to. Feel like I don't know if I actually want to bring life into what's currently existing in this moment. But again, is that just the thing that every generation has said? I'm sort of stuck on this train of thought. I could probably fix this with one Google search or one Claude prompt.
Yeah, go for it. Ask Claude. See what it says. You can ask it if you want.
I'm not going to do it now. I made a conscious decision not to have any AI open before I started this interview. I thought we could just do humans. Human.
Yeah,
like
fair.
Old school.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Old school. I'm gonna have to run in 10 minutes or so. But like, what else is going on? Tell me something that's going on in your life. Like, where are you based at the moment?
I'm in Atlanta. I bought a house in Atlanta like 4 or 5 years ago. The most recent shit that's been happening, Nash Goosebumps lived with me for about a year because he won the green card. Yeah, he won the green card lottery, and then it's called a diversity visa. Yeah. So every year there's like a segment, like an amount of. I think every year the US gives out like, let's say 100,000 green cards to different places, and each continent, I think, or each like area gets an allotment. So I think Australia gets like 20,000, and then like Eastern Europe gets like 20,000, and then India gets 20 or whatever. Like each place gets like a certain amount or something. And so
is it literally just a lottery? Like, is it literally just like you put your name down and they fucking roll a random number generator and you get?
Yep.
I don't understand that. That doesn't sound very practical. Anyway, I'm glad Nash got that.
Yeah, see, I mean, you still have to go through the process. Like, after you get approved, you still have to go through, like, get all your vaccines, all your medical, like, go to an interview, do your biometrics. Like, you have to do all of this stuff. but
Mm-hmm.
it is just, yeah, I think a random number roll where you can just like win a green card and then go through the process, and then you live in America. So yeah, he won that, and then he lived with him
Did he
for
want
the
to go to
last
America?
year. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah, cool,
like
good.
he just
That's
wanted
good.
to come here and like, yeah, just because he had like a degree in acoustics and he wants to do music shit and
Mm,
both of those, and tech as well. So all of that stuff is just, there's more of it here than in Australia.
mm-hmm.
Um, Other than that, my mum came and visited me a few weeks ago, which was cool. I haven't seen her in a while, and she helped me plant an avocado tree in my backyard and organize the shit out of my house, which was cool. My house is like the most organized it's ever been. It's great.
Planting an avocado
Um,
tree. That's a pretty big symbol for you going to stick around in the same place for a while.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't plan on moving anytime soon. What about you? Are you in Melbourne or NZ?
No, I'm back in Christchurch.
Mm,
I moved back. I moved back like mid-COVID, so sort of I wasn't living in Melbourne for 10 years, and then I don't know, that second winter of lockdown came around, and Melbourne. I'm sure everywhere was shit, but Melbourne lockdowns, 5 kilometer curfew radius. You can't travel outside of 9 p.m. curfew, and I was just going, it just sucks. And Melbourne, man. It's like without being able to, without the culture and the music scene and walking down
mm,
Smith Street or friggin' whatever, Chapel Street or whatever, not being able to do that, it just turns into this giant car park. So I
mm,
I just went, I'm going to move back to Christchurch. COVID hadn't hit New Zealand yet. There were still festivals. There were still people running around frothing. We probably talked about this. If we were chatted in 2020, this was probably mid this happening. So that would have been
mm,
about the time that I moved back. When I moved back to Christchurch, good to be around my mum and dad, my sister, her family, like they're all kicking it. They're all really healthy, but it's just really good to be back with my family. Like I don't currently plan on sort of having a close family of my own at this stage, and so it's just
mm,
really nice to have that. And yeah, I like Christchurch. Hey, like you've been
mm.
here a few times. Or
Yeah, my dad lived there for a long time.
okay.
He grew up in Dunedin and I think lived in Christchurch for ages. And yeah, we went over there once when I was like 2, and then went over again in, I don't know, 2012 or something. I've been there like once that I can remember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
choice.
I feel like those kind of places, Australia is kind of good for this too. Maybe not Sydney or Melbourne, but like more like rural Australia. Um, really good for getting a lot of work done. I feel like there's something about the slower pace of life there that allows me to think a little clearer than America, where it's a lot of just like go go go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I noticed this in Spain too. When I was in Spain for a bit, like everyone there's just so chill, and it just felt like I had much more mental space to think clearly versus America, which feels a little more like chaotic just because there's so much shit going on here. Do you notice that?
I do, and I would say one thing I've always noticed is New Zealand and Queensland as well. I think there's something about there's a particular type of music. I think it shapes the type of music that comes out. It's kind of the more kind of relaxed it is. Perhaps Queensland is an exception in that it gets so hot that people just stay inside in air conditioned rather than. But there's still this much more relaxed vibe. A lot of the music, especially in the 4/4 kind of scene, it's much more organic and squelchy and swampy, and I think people just sit around in air conditioning all day punching cones and writing tunes in their parents' basement. No, that's an overstatement. Not an overstatement. That's incorrect. But anyway, yeah, I think it's true. Like I think New Zealand has a really, really particular sound, and I think it's due to um, perhaps not laid back, but the particular type of just energy that is required in order to exist in a place like this. I mean, I'd say I lived in Berlin. Like I've kind of stayed there as long as I possibly can, visa wise, and yeah, I just want to write techno and fucking, really, really hard out
Mm,
shit. Whereas, right now, if I was to just like start making music right now, it would probably be like ambient, you know?
mm,
Yeah. Um, yeah.
true.
What's Atlanta like? Like, I haven't been
So
there.
I live like an hour north of Atlanta in
Okay.
Marietta. Though most people that say they live in Atlanta probably live in Marietta. It's like the bigger of the two things around here.
Yeah.
And it's sick. I mean, I live in the suburbs, like really far away from the city.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I like it. It's chill. I got a lot of space here. I can kind of just do my thing, and yeah, it's relaxing. It's pretty relaxing, though. There's something about just like the vibe of America that makes me feel like I have less mental space. I guess maybe it's just because like when I'm here, I always know I have to do something in like a couple of days or something like this. Whereas when I go to my parents who live in like rural Queensland,
Hmm.
um, I am there, I guess, for a holiday. That honestly might be what it is. That I just don't have much responsibility when I go there, and so I have more mental space there.
How often do you go back home?
Probably I'm probably averaging like once every 4 years or so.
Yeah.
Once every
How
three
long
or
have you
four
been away
years.
now?
Yeah.
It's been a while, eh?
I moved here in 2015, so 11 years. I just got a
Yeah.
green card too, which was a
Oh,
whole ass thing.
congrats, you
Thanks. Yeah.
fucking yank.
Well, I'm still an Australian citizen. I have to
All
take the
right. Yeah.
civics exam to become a Yank.
Do you want that?
Yeah, I would definitely like to get my citizenship here. I think
Mm.
that would be. I mean, I don't plan to move back to Australia, though I would like to keep my Australian citizenship if possible.
You got your avocado
Um,
tree, like mum's solidified it. You
yeah,
can't move now.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yes. Cool, man. Well, it
Cool.
was good chatting.
Yeah, it's good to catch up. I'm glad we did this. We've been talking about it for a while, eh?